So over there on that mine, you gotta wonder how many of the roughnecks over there were the guys that I just saw at the gas station, just getting off work, going to buy a 12-pack to go sit in their trailer and drink their misery away after working, their nice 14-hour shift. What a life. Doesn't that make you want to die? Anyway, here's a beautiful, another beautiful little plant. This is Perityle quinqueflora. Why is it called quinqueflora? Well, first off, it starts with a Q. It's not actually K-I-N-K. But, if that did get your gullet or whatever, you're free to think that way. You could spell it that way if you want to, I guess. No one's going to know what the shit you're talking about. But let's look at the leaves over there. Rather strange leaf shape for Perityle. And you can see they got another one over there. With the leaves are a lot bigger on that guy. The leaves are somewhat variable. Oh, yeah, anyway. All right, so there you go. There's the little flowers. Kind of tiny. Taking off. And this one, I believe, is endemic to the limestone of the Guadalupe mountain region. So we're in New Mexico right now, and then it just tips in to the northern part of Texas. Northwestern part of Texas, excuse me. And you can see there they are, just growing completely immersed in the limestone. And this would be the Permian limestone, remember? They got the nice Permian limestone. Right there, you got a nice walnut species. Nice jug lands. You can see that those are the little fruits over there. Very pungent smell. You ever unsure if something's a juglands, a walnut or not? Just get that foliage of those fruits, crack them open, and you'll smell it. Right there, down by my where my boot is, where I'm precariously perched on this goddamn. That's a species of Nicotiana. And all the Nicotianas are pretty heavily glandular. They're very sticky. They don't smell too nice. Let's see what else we got. Got some nice parthenium down there. A nice grandelia. I'm sweating like hell. Oh yeah, you got a senna down there too. How about that? Caespitosum, a member of the legume family. Okay, there you go. There's that Nicotiana, that nicotine again. Look at all those little hairs on the leaves. You could just see how glandular that bastard is. Sticky, heavily sticky. You see bugs stuck on his leaves sometimes too. Over here you got a species in the sage family, the salvia and oregano family, Hedioma. Again, it's got those verticillasters, those inflorescences, the verticillasters, and then tiny zygomorphic flowers over there. Kind of pretty. Tiny as hell, but kind of pretty. I think this has a scent to it too, though it may not have one since it's so dry. Also, I've been touching all other kinds of plants. My hands still kind of smell like balls from that walnut right there. Down here, you got another species of Morandia, Anterinum, I think it's Anterinfolia. Who knows? It might not be that one, but either way, it's related. Oh, it looks like something nibbled off the flower. Anyway, snapdragon vines in Plantagenaceae. Look at this juicy bastard, Eclysanthes longiflora. Just opening. He just opened literally an hour or two ago. They open at night. Probably pollinated by hawk moths. Look at it. Another nick tag with those opposite leaves. Remember 4 o'clock family? Oh yeah. Look at that. Long style. Stamen's not as long as the style. Style's popping out a little bit more. A lot of good stuff going on. There's some mild garbage on the side of the road too. Look at this croton. This croton's a nice variation on a theme. How about that? Look at those stamens poking out. Look how prominent those stamens are. Croton again is Euphorbiaceae, the poinsettia family, the rubber family. You normally see them, most of them, at least the ones I see on the plains and in the American West and Southwest, have that very blue and somewhat tomentose or volutinous layer of hairs on the leaves. But we've been a real shit magnet today for the rednecks, Anyway, here's a nice species of senna. Very odd for a senna. Again, the variations on a theme. Get up close. It almost looks like an Asteraceae from far back, because these aren't they're not the typical alpinoid zygomorphic shits. These are the they got more of a radial symmetry. They're more actinomorphic. But then you get up close and you see, what's it got going on? Remember, it's a senna, so it's got the 7 stamens, But everything in the Fabaceae, and then of course those buds too. Those buds give it away as a senna. And the leaves. Actually, these leaves are kind of odd. They're not trifoliate and they're not pinnate. They're pretty weird. They're like the first row of pinnate opposite leaves, you know? Anyway, so, but then you get up close to there and you look at those 7 stamens, okay? And you see, well, they got 7 stamens. Remember, everything in a pea family's got 10 stamens. It's generally supposed to have 10 stamens. So you only see 7. Then, of course, if you were to dissect this flower and get up close, you look and you see there's 3 staminodes. Basically, 3 aborted stamens that aren't fertile. 3 sterile stamens. That's what a staminode is. It's just a sterile stamen. You get them in a lot of different plant families. Some plants use staminodes to attract pollinators. Some use them to hold up the structure of their corolla flowers. And some just, they don't really use them for anything. They're just kind of residual. They're just kind of rudimentary, leftover, vestigial morphology. I love me a senna, though. I love it. Beautiful Caespitosum. Hey, look at this big pile of cow shit right there. How about that, huh? Okay, so we were just up there at about, I don't know, 6,800 feet, almost 7,000 feet. Just some boring Juniperus depiana alligator juniper woodland. Very overgrazed. Everything's nibbled down. Kind of looks like shit. Kind of an absolute wreck. And it's very dry. But then you come down here into this little relictual canyon over there, and you got the diversity, especially among trees, just goes up. And you got Acer, probably grandadentatum. It's a maple. You got, here it is right there. Then you got another one. This is one of my favorites. The calcareous, the limestone-loving member of the rose family, Petrophyton caespitosum. And then over here you got a couple more oak species up there. One that almost looks like a chestnut leaf dock. Then you got a white pine right there. A lot of different stuff going on. Oh, and you got some Doug firs too, which I was not expecting to see, because those tend to like a little bit more moisture than what we got up above, you know. And like I said, it's very dry up above. I also got Arbutus halapensis. I'm trying to think of the common name. Just the Mexican madrone, I guess. I guess they call it Texas madrone. It kind of looks like Arbutus arizonica, but of course the bark on these stays a lot smoother, you know. And of course you touch it and you could feel it. It's a lot cooler than the surrounding ambient temperature, because, you know, the xylem is so close. The water transporting vasculature is so close to the goddamn surface right there. So pretty interesting. Part of me's got to say that these may not be here that much longer, due to the increasing trend of hot and dry summers, hotter, drier summers. And just, you know, the maples especially. Maples need a lot of water. They do. They're almost a riparian tree. They're certainly a riparian tree in the deserts and the xeric areas. Some nice agave, probably Perityle up there. I think it is Perityle. Either way, pretty interesting, you know. It looks like shit up top, overgrazed, cows everywhere. And then, of course, you got, but down here in the canyons, you got these little interesting oak species, a lot of oak diversity, 3 or 4 different species. And, of course, it's dry as a bone here, but if it wasn't, I bet there'd be a lot more smaller herbaceous stuff going off. Probably some pretty interesting shit. But again, it's dry. You know, it's a dry year down here in southern New Mexico. Base rock, of course, is limestone. Hey, I forgot to mention this guy, Juniperus scopulorum. And this guy needs a lot more moisture. This is not a highland dry juniper. You know, this guy needs, you see it in the Rocky Mountains, you know, where they get a little bit more summer rain. It's generally at somewhat higher altitudes. And you generally, even down there, you still see it growing in the arroyos and shit. You know, in the riparian areas. But of course, all this stuff is here because this is where it's able to hang on. Probably 20,000 years ago, you got it up on the ridges. You know, 20,000 years ago, climate was a lot different. A lot moister, a lot cooler. This stuff would have no trouble growing up on the ridges. But now, you know, it's just been a lot. It's the climate, of course, obviously has changed over the last 10,000 years. It's a lot drier. Summers are hotter. And so they've just been stuck on. They're just kind of hanging on here. So this little canyon acts as a kind of a time capsule into the Pleistocene. Oh yeah, there's some stuff going off. Look at that allium. Look at this onion. How about that? Then you got an Echianda over here. Echiandia, excuse me. Agavaceae. Used to be in Liliaceae, because apparently no one looked any deeper than just seeing it was a monocot with a flowering spike when they were sorting out the taxonomy 40 fucking years ago. I don't know. So again, time capsule into the Pleistocene. But of course, obsolete racist grandpas, you know them well. You gotta love them. You know, every family's got one or two of them. You know, they'll take that information and say, you know, something ridiculous like, "Hey, the climate's always been changing." Of course, when they say this, they have not even the faintest fart whiff of an idea or an understanding of geologic time, evolution, the rates of climate change, interglacial periods, etc. They just kind of take it and run with it. So that's why you just give them a little pat on the head and maybe give them a mild sedative to get them to shut the fuck up at Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. There's a big boy. Look at this guy. Look at this fucking oak. And of course, this guy was nowhere up top. Only in the canyons, only in the little arroyo, kind of shaded on the slope, protected from the sun, getting a little bit more moisture than those ridge tops up there. You know, so what is he? So the thing with oaks, though, you got to do is, okay, you can't, obviously acorns are ideal. It's been a shitty year for moisture, so they're not producing that much fruits. There's not really any acorns, at least not that I can see. But you get down there, you know, you basically take one of the branches, okay, and you look at the flower, not the flower, excuse me, the leaf morphology, and you basically see, hey, it's pretty glabrous. It's pretty glabrous on that abaxial surface, and it's pretty glabrous on that adaxial surface, too. Adaxial and abaxial just pertain to the leaf, how it, you know, when it unfurls from the main central axis of the plant, if it's the side facing the main central axis or the side facing away from the main central axis. So, of course, on most leaves, abaxial just means the underside, which is right here. And you can tell it's glabrous. It's got a margin. It's pretty toothed and wavy. Mildly toothed, softly toothed and wavy. All right. Then you compare with this other one that just appeared, which wasn't on the ridge tops, and you look at it and you say, "Oh shit, look at that! You got the same." These teeth are a little bit more pointed, a little bit more pronounced, but it's obviously got a similar margin to this one. Different species, you could tell, but it's got it's not a smooth margin. The margins aren't entire. And you pull this thing over, okay, and you look at it and you say, "Hey, this one isn't glabrous. This one has a little bit of fuzz. It's got a little bit of it's got an indumentum on there." Some leaves, not leaves, some hairs and shit. Jesus Christ, I'm talking like a fucking, mixing my words up like, a geriatric over here. But regardless, so you got two new species of oaks. We'll take them back. We'll figure out what they are later. Either way, they're not up on the ridge tops. They're just kind of hanging on, you know, in this Pleistocene time capsule of this little wash right here. Oh, look at this delicate bastard. You got a Frasera speciosa. It looks like shit. It's done flowering. You got the fruits maturing right there. But it is Frasera speciosa, which you would not expect to see down here, you know, in southern New Mexico and basically the Chihuahan desert. But of course, you get high enough, you know, and there it is. So that's pretty interesting. But you see these a lot in the Rocky Mountains. Again, high elevation Rocky Mountains where they got the snowpack. They got almost year-round moisture up there at those higher elevations. Pretty interesting plant. Again, takes 30 years to bloom once, and it's monocarpic, so it flowers once and then it dies. You got a couple. These are all little seedlings. You know, who knows how many years until these guys go off? What, 20, 30 years maybe? Sometimes it takes them 80 years. And I think a lot of them, they got some sort of gimmick where they're all able to flower at the same time. Not all of them, but a lot are, you know, to ensure cross-pollination. There's some, I don't know if that's a signal, if they're all set on the same clock or what. Some guy was studying these. He did a lot of work studying these. There's a bunch of papers you can read online if you give a shit. Frasera speciosa, how about that? There you go. There's a nice illustration of the Pleistocene time capsule effect. See that? See up on those ridges? It's just kind of bland. Not much going off. You can see it's all just generally the same trees. Juniper, step beyond, with maybe a handful of the oaks, Quercus grissii and what this shit. Who knows? But then, of course, you look down on those washes and just the diversity just quadruples. You got 4 times as many plant species, which is still not a lot, but it's more than is going off up here. You know, there's a beautiful little slice of limestone, huh? You should make a coffee table out of it and put it in your apartment, you know. You could sell it at IKEA for fucking, you know, $450 or something. Man, that kind of makes me want to throw up. Anyway, so look it down there and see, you get the point. You know, oh look, beautiful, what is that? Is it? No, it's just that Quercus again. So, Doug fir, again. No Doug fir on the ridge tops. You could just see what's going on. All the landscape from 20,000 years ago has basically been preserved, and the only place you can still hang out, which is down in those washes, where you're both hidden from the sun because of the slopes, and then you got more moisture too. Okay, so following that canyon on down, following that little drainage on down, it opens up from a wash into a much more open, steep-sided, and narrow canyon. And you can see it right there. All that beautiful Permian limestone just exposed, just undressed for you to check out, you know, and see what's growing on the sides there and what this shit. Real pretty. There you go. There's a beautiful specimen of Pseudotsuga menziesii dug fir. Now, this is a Rocky Mountain dug fir, so it's a little bit more blue, a little bit more glaucous than the species you get in the Pacific Northwest and in California. It does look morphologically different. There's that Petrophyton, a member of the Rosaceae, real weird one. I believe that's a long branch. So it branched off from Rosaceae pretty early on. You always see it growing on limestone, just as a solid mat. Got a nice little Kannapolis over there. So you can see further up, I mean, it's dry as hell here right now. Everything looks like shit generally. It doesn't look like it's doing too well. Doesn't look like it's holding on too well. You know, as long as they get some rain here by the late fall, temperatures start to cool off, things should be fine. Shouldn't be any local extirpations. That's a safe word we're using today. Local extirpations just mean when a population is isolated, an isolated population, it gets wiped out. Say to climate change, say to a change in a spike in summer heat, an average summer heat, or a decrease in winter rainfall or summer rainfall or whatever with the shit. But right now it's working as a little interesting time capsule. But as you could tell, I mean, obviously it's changed here. This is just a relic. It's a Pleistocene relic of what was going on up there 20,000 years ago. And who knows what other plants have gone extinct that were once here. Maybe some cypresses. Could have been some cypresses here, but they just couldn't hold on. You know, everything here is just basically going through a litmus test of adaptability to increasingly dry conditions. That canyon sure is pretty though, huh? All right, that's all I got. Go fuck yourself. Bye. Oh, nice amelanche here. Look at it. Remember the rose family, Rosaceae? Deep in a canyon now. Here's theyh. I think it's Trifoliata, Rutaceae, citrus family. The Acer grandidentatum is doing nice. Oop. You can see, and then it's all downhill from there. And it just opens up a lot wider and gets a lot deeper. Look at it, Petrophyton caespitosum. Look at it, rose family. Look at what it's doing. Just a nice cascade over this rock. A little too dry for it to be flowering all, but oh, there's some flowers. See the flower spikes? They're not open yet, but that's an interesting plant. You gotta love those mat-forming, rock-loving plants. What the shit is this? Oh, it looks like it's in a Argyrocosmos, or Natalina maybe, I don't know. One of the Pteridaceae xeric ferns. Oh, so there's that Petrophyton starting to go off. See the little flowering spikes. And over here is pretty interesting. You got a member of the Crassulaceae, that succulent family, jade plants, dudleys, Graptopedilums, echeverias, all that shit. This is a species of sedum. Look at how imbricate those little leaves are, though. Those little leaflets. Just growing straight out the limestone. Wonder what species. So overall, the moral of the story is never underestimate the power of a narrow limestone canyon, or any goddamn canyon for that matter, to act as a Pleistocene time capsule. You know, a nice time machine to look back and see what the surrounding landscape was like up on the ridges and at the flat areas up top the mesa during the Pleistocene. You know, it's basically a way to look back 20,000 years ago. There's that goddamn beautiful blue fern again. Look at it. Look at the color on this bastard. Holy shit. Nice onion. Now, of course, if you take, I just took one of these little leaflets off. It does smell like an onion. Kind of makes me want like a burger or something. Look at that. Look at that nice little Polygonaceae up here on the rock wall. Member of the buckwheat family. And then there's that Petrophyton again. And then down here is one of those Petrophytons in full bloom. Look at that. Look at all those inflorescences. Look at all those compound flowers. Each one composed of about, I don't know, 30 odd florets or something. With those prominently exerted stamens. You know, got what do you got? Like 5 to a... Can you see it there? What do you got? 5 to a flower? Maybe a little bit more? Got to get up there with the hand lens and look at it. Anyway, these bastards can live for upwards of 200 or 300 years. They're very long-lived. Because you got this thick perennial taproot, which is just embedded in this rock wall. This thing's probably been here 40 years at least. You know? But you'll be in some of these limestone mountain ranges and you'll see it just, you know, covering, you know, probably 20 square feet. I seen it in western Utah up there in a house range, covering at least 20 square feet. Draped over a fucking cliff, you know, looking out on a Great Basin. And the thing had to be, I mean, that one had to be at least 200 or 300 years old. And again, it's a relative of strawberries, plums, cherries, almonds. It's in the rose family, Rosaceae. You know, but I think it's a pretty long branch. I think it's one of the earlier diverging members of the rose family. Look at it, another member of the rose family right here, species of Cercocarpus. How about that? And then over here you got that Perityle quinqueflora. Kinky flowers. And this guy is a member of a whole clade that's experienced a lot of diversification in West Texas. That is the same one we've seen down at lower elevations by that little canyon. But, you know, of course up here it's at about 7,000 feet elevation in this little refugia, this little Pleistocene relic, little time capsule. It's got the very glabrous leaves, glabrous and smooth leaves. Look how shiny they are. And then the flowers are just tiny. They're tiny. And then the seeds, the achenes, when they mature, I guess I just covered in barbs, which of course help with the wind dispersal, you know. Get some nice winds here, you know, especially after they mature, you know, late fall, winter. And they just blow the shit, you know, lands in cracks over there and stays lodged in there until the next rainfall. And they germinate, then boom, you got a new plant. Look at those oaks just growing out of the goddamn rock wall. Oh, it's starting to get hot. Hope I don't pass out. Things tend to go back soon. Celerian. You ever seen a sotol in full bloom like that? That's pretty. Isn't that nice? Anyway, look at this. What do you think those are, huh? Cyanobacterial colony? Corals? What is it? Is that a 300 million year old coral? Anyway, there's a nice close-up of the fruits of Celerian. This is a post-flower. This is a post-anthesis. You know, you can get up there, you look at them, you can see they basically look like little samaras. You know, they're like kind of optimized for wind dispersal. And again, when these are mature, you know, after they're done flowering, you could take those flowering stalks, the flowering stalks that is sotol right here, that's the common name, and you could beat your friends with it, or, you know, people you're not friends with too, if you're prepared for that. Some people enjoy that, you know, just randomly going and starting conflicts in public. I guess if you want to, you know, you could do that. You know? Look at those highly serrated leaf margins. It's very fun to walk through, like I'm doing right now. Look at that, Maple Canyon. Hard to believe we're in the Chihuahan desert right now. I mean, look at it. Here's another one of those parasites. This is Kannapolis Alpina. And again, it's not flowering. Few things are here, but you're here in May or April when this thing's going off. They're very pretty. It's like these white and yellow bracts. And again, it's achlorophyllous. No chlorophyll, just parasitizing another plant. Probably this maple, obviously. Maples and oaks. And again, they attach to other tree roots by a parasitic root called a haustoria. You know, ask and you shall receive. I was just talking about what a drag it was. Everything looks so parched here and just generally fucked up. And then, you know, just drought stressed. And then there you go, you know. Pretty soon we just heard a couple thunderclouds on the horizon. And next thing I know, it's dumping on us. Got hailstones the size of golf balls plumping down. Luckily we made it back to the trucks just in time. But look at it. You know, that's what it's like in the Southwest. You don't get rain. Ooh. You don't get rain for a couple months, really test the drought limits, then just get 2 inches in an hour. I mean, Jesus, I mean, this was dusty. This was a dusty-ass road this morning. And, of course, we've seen nobody else on it because we're in the middle of nowhere! All right, that's all I got. Go fuck yourself. Bye.